it's Samantha. So today I'm coming to you with my September book haul and wrap up. I'm very excited to film this video. I have a ton of books to talk about, mostly because I bought a bunch of books. So I'm going to start off with the book haul. I have 9 books here to show you today, which is not the most I've ever bought, but it is still quite a few. The reason why I have so many books to show you today that I've bought was because there were a lot of pre-orders that I had for this month, because a lot of really awesome books came out this month. So I'm very excited to talk about them all. Let's get on to all of the books. The first book that I'm going to show you is something that came out at the beginning of this month. It is one of my most highly anticipated reads because I really enjoyed reading the 3rd and 4th books from this series earlier this year. It was, of course, Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. If you don't know, I love the Throne of Glass series. I read it for the first time in September of 2014. That's when I read the first 2 books, and then I read the 3rd and 4th book this year, which was like, I know, a huge gap, but you know, sometimes I just take huge breaks in between reading my series, like Harry Potter is an example of that. But I am now all caught up on all the books that are out, and I definitely intend to reread all 5 books before the 6th book comes out next year. I bought this, I read it, I loved it. I'm going to talk about it in my wrap up because, you know, this is the haul section. So the next book that I bought was also a pre-order, and that was the 3rd book in the Magisterium series by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare, and that is The Bronze Key. Now, I have not read the 2nd book, The Copper Gauntlet, but I did read the 1st book, The Iron Trial, about 2 years ago. But I'm currently rereading The Iron Trial so that I can read The Copper Gauntlet because I completely forgot everything that happened in The Iron Trial. I know that there was a twist, but I forgot what happened, so I had to reread it, and I'm like halfway through. So I'm gonna finish rereading that, then I'm gonna read The Copper Gauntlet, and then I'm gonna read this. The next book that I bought was just a spur of the moment thing. I was like, everyone has read this, everyone has loved it, so I'm gonna get it, and that is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I just randomly decided to buy this one day when I was still in Spain, because if you don't know, I was in Spain at the end of August and beginning of September. So I was sitting there on my phone, on the Amazon app, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get myself a copy of Illuminae because everyone's talked about it and loved it. The next book that I bought was also a pre-order, and that was A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. I read the 1st book in September, and I really enjoyed it, so I decided to pick up the 2nd book, and it's like such a nice hardcover. It's like all matte and soft, and the spine is all shiny and beautiful, and I'm just super excited to read it. The next book that I bought was also a pre-order because, as I said, I pre-ordered a lot of books this month, and that was 3 Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. This book is about a set of triplets who they have to fight to the death to become the queen of their like kingdom or whatever. I don't really know the exact specifics of this book, but it sounds really interesting, and the 3 sisters are rumored to have 3 different powers, but it turns out that 2 of them actually don't have any powers at all, so then obviously one of them has the upper hand. I've heard that this book is a bit of a setup for the rest of the series, but I'm still really intrigued to read it. I've never read anything by Kendara Blake before, and I'm just super excited. The next book that I have to show you was also a pre-order because I just pre-ordered all the books this month, and that was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I have not actually read 6 of Crows yet, but I have a signed copy. It's beautiful. I cannot wait to read it. I've heard such great things, and I definitely plan on reading them as soon as possible. I just decided to pick up the sequel because, you know, it's so pretty, and I like marathoning series. I don't do it very often, but I do like to do it. So if I have both the books in the series, and I can just read them back to back, and it's gonna be a great time. The next book that I have to show you is actually something that I won in a giveaway, which was super exciting. I won a giveaway from Goodreads, which never happens to me. This is the first time it's happened in the whole 2 years that I've been on Goodreads, and I've been entering giveaways for like that entire time. And I finally won one, and I won Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, which is super exciting because obviously I'd already bought Illuminae in the month. I'm not sure if there are more books in the series or if it's just these 2 books. I can just look it up on Goodreads. I probably should have done that before filming this video, but we all know that I'm a shit booktuber, okay? So the next book that I have here to show you is Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. This is the 2nd book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I have not read Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I have the 1st book in like this beautiful hardcover English edition, which they've stopped selling, so you have to buy them used. Anyway, and I thought, you know, I might as well get the rest of the trilogy before I can't find a copy anywhere. So yeah, I bought the sequel. I haven't bought the 3rd one yet. And finally, the last book in the book haul section is a book that I got in my September fairy loot box, so this is a little bit of a spoiler for that video, which I haven't posted yet, and that is Vasa in the Night by Sarah Porter. This book is also a signed copy because I got a signed book plate, which is very exciting. This book is really pretty. It sounds really weird. I don't know how to describe it. It sounds really weird, but I've been hearing really great things about it. I will let you know what I think about it when I read it, which will hopefully be sometime soon. It's super duper short. It's got Russian themes to it, which is really interesting. I don't know anything about like Russian folklore or Russian history. I don't know anything really. Let's be real. Do I know anything? No. I'm really intrigued to read it. Now finally on to the books that I read this month. I read 5 books this month, which doesn't seem like a lot, but they were all over 400 pages. 5 books is actually quite a bit considering the length of all of them. So let's go ahead and get into all of the books that I read. So the first book that I finished in the month of September was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This was the August book for the SASSy book club, and if you don't know what that's all about, I will link the explanation video down below. Our August theme was beach reads, and I chose to nominate An Ember in the Ashes because I thought, you know, a big book that you could take to to the beach. That's pretty good, right? I really enjoyed it. I gave this book a 4.25 out of 5 stars because there were little things that annoyed me, and actually there was quite a big thing that annoyed me. I did not like one of the main characters very much throughout most of the story, and that was Leia, who is the female character, and I didn't like her for the majority of the book. It wasn't until the end, until she became like a strong character, that's when I started to like her. But I really loved Elias, who is the other character. He was fantastic, and I loved the setting, the story. It was just all really interesting, and I'm really intrigued to read A Torch Against the Night. But if you've read this book and you want to hear our discussion about it, I will link the discussion video down below. We did a live show on it. It's full of spoilers, so please do not watch it if you haven't read the book. The next book that I read is a book that has been haunting me for 2 years, and that is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. Now this book may not look like it's over 400 pages, but it is. This book was 449 pages. Anyway, this book is a contemporary book. It follows this girl called Emily, and her best friend Sloane has disappeared without a word and has left behind a to-do list for Emily to do over the summer. I am not the biggest fan of Morgan Matson. This is the 3rd book I've read by her, and I will say that this is my favorite so far. I give it a 3.75 out of 5 stars. I don't know why, but I just can't click with her books very well, so they're never like 4 or 5 star books for me. Maybe one day she'll write a book that I adore, but so far this has been my favorite, but still not the best thing I've ever read. I do think it was a little overhyped because 2 summers ago in 2014 it was like just blowing up on BookTube, and that's why I really wanted to get it. I did enjoy this book, but it's not my favorite thing in the world, but also not my least favorite. The next book that I read was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. I really enjoyed this book. I will say it's not my favorite out of the series. I listened to it on audiobook, which I don't think helped because I love audiobooks, but sometimes I just miss things. I feel like that happened a lot in this book. Also, this is an awkward book to listen to on audiobook because some things happen, and it was not the best thing to listen to on audiobook because there was every chance that someone would have walked into my room and just heard this thing playing off of my computer and been like, Samantha, what are you listening to? Because it was a little bit inappropriate. I will say that if you are a child, like 14 or 15, and you're reading these books and you've got to book 4, don't read this book quite yet. Maybe wait like a year and then read it, unless you're like completely okay with sex, but you know. It is similar to A Court of Mist and Fury. Not as bad, but you know, it's getting there. The next book that I read was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. This book is the longest book in the series. It's like 730 pages, something like that. It is a long book, and I will say this book is definitely my least favorite out of the series. I gave this one a 4.25 out of 5 stars, which is awful. I never thought I'd rate a Harry Potter book less than 5 stars, but this one is a little bit too long. There's a lot of just Umbridge action, and I hate Umbridge. I love her as a character. She's so well written, but I hate her so much. And actually a lot of the action happened in the last 60 pages, I noticed, and I was like, why? Why is this all happening in the last 60 pages? Like this action could have happened a lot earlier. It wasn't my favorite in the series. It was definitely not my favorite reread of the series. I've reread it now, and next time I can maybe skip it and just watch the movie. I know it's not the same, but it's like similar-ish. And the final book that I read in the month of September was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This is on the complete opposite side of the spectrum. This is one of my favorite rereads of the series. I love this book because they all sort of discover that they are teenagers and like they have hormones now, and it's like, oh, I'm interested in Ginny now. That's Harry's thoughts, obviously. This book is so good. It's just full of so much stuff, and it's funny. It's also heartbreaking because obviously that person dies at the end of this book. I didn't cry actually, which was very surprising. I really enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook version of this, and it was just a fantastic reread. I love it so much, and I cannot wait to rewatch the film because I remember loving that film as well. There was one book that I was supposed to read to complete my TBR jar challenge, which was to read a book that someone picked out for you, and that was supposed to be On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I did start it, so I will be continuing it on in October and hopefully finishing it. That means I'm now 2 months behind on my TBR jar challenge because my August was to finish a book in a day, and I haven't done that, but I will choose out of my TBR jar again. Oh, this is such an easy challenge. Why did I even put this in? This is barely a challenge. My challenge for October is to read a YA bestseller. I'm pretty sure that Deathly Hallows, which is the next book on my TBR, is a YA. I'm gonna attempt to hold up all of the books that I bought this month because there are just too many, but here are all of the books that I read in the month of September. It's quite a nice stack. It's really heavy, so I feel proud that I completed this amount of pages because they're all over 400 pages. So those were all the books that I read in the month of September. That's going to be all for today's video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. I upload videos every Thursday-ish. I'm sometimes very late, like I am today. If you want to see videos on Thursdays, subscribe, and I will see you next Thursday. Even though this is not a Thursday, but I will see you on Thursday, maybe. We'll see. Okay, bye!